All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about a couple things regarding the Jets, Zach Wilson, as well as what are they going to do in the draft. Well, especially with their, more specifically into their first pick, with their first pick, what they're going to do. So, a couple of things. So Joe Douglas talked about Zach Wilson, the general manager for the Jets. So I just wanted to go over what he had to say. He said, I know you guys talked to Woody Johnson about Zach, and my thoughts are in line with Woody, that Zach is an asset, the Jets general manager said Friday. At that same time, we're obviously open to trading Zach. There have been discussions. Nothing's really changed since we've talked in Florida. We're open to trading him. There's just no news to report on that. And they really weren't getting any offers for him. But, I mean, well, again, we'll see. But right now, he's still a Jet. He also said the most important position in sports, this is about the quarterback. For us, it's funny. I was going back and looking just through some drafts, the way that teams handled the quarterback position. I went back and looked at how the Packers in the 90s, you draft a guy like Mark Brunell in the 5th round, and then you draft Matt Hasselbeck in the 6th round, and you develop. They were a quarterback farm when Brett Favre was there, Aaron Brooks. Then they drafted Aaron Rodgers in the 1st round, but I would love to be a quarterback factory, and they have been anything but a quarterback factory, that's for sure. But again, Zach Wilson is still a Jet, and I also wanted to. So I think I also have here what Woody Johnson had to say about Zach Wilson as well. I think there's a quote that I have from him. So he said, from his standpoint, it's probably better if he changes faces and gets a new place, and he can wipe the slate clean. I think that would be better for him. Zach is and he also said Zach is a valuable asset. I said it would be better for him. No, we're not just going to release him. So they're not going to release him. But I feel like at some point, I mean, you're going to have to make a decision because you can't go into next season with him on the team. You just can't. You just cannot do that because it's just going to be. I mean, they already have distractions on the team with things that have gone on, but whether it's Robert Saleh and him trying to figure out who leaked out certain information, and of course Aaron Rodgers and some stuff that he's been making news over. The Jets make the news for the wrong reasons at times, and Zach Wilson is going to create a distraction if you have him on this team going into next year. He cannot be on this team. He has to go. You got to get rid of him somehow. If he ends up being on this team and being that number 3 quarterback, I don't know what to say. It would be comical. That's really what it would be. If he somehow is on this team in 2024, after everything that's happened. And I just think it's funny how, Joe Douglas talks about, being hopefully being a quarterback factory. Yeah, you have not been that. Because last year, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, and you have Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, and Tim Boyle. Those are the quarterbacks that you had to use when Aaron Rodgers got hurt. And you look at some of the other teams and with the quarterbacks that got hurt for them, and some of these backup quarterbacks played well. The Jets, that was not the case for them. Because you had guys like Jake Browning step up. I know he didn't play well towards the end there, but Josh Dobbs also was playing well at certain points during the year. Now they brought in Tyrod Taylor, and he's got his injury issues. So, again, if Zach Wilson is the 3rd quarterback and then Aaron Rodgers gets hurt and Tyrod Taylor is your first line of defense and then he gets hurt and then you got to put in Zach Wilson, I mean, there's a possibility that could happen. But he can, because Jet fans are going to lose their minds. He cannot be on this team. But you had quarterbacks that backup quarterbacks that played well. Look at Joe Flacco. He stepped in for a few games and played well for the Browns. It got them to the playoffs. And Joe Flacco was on the Jets. And look at how he played with the Jets. Wasn't very good. They had that miraculous comeback win against the Browns a couple of years ago. But other than that, Joe Flacco was not good with the Jets. He was good with the Browns. You know why? Because the Browns were a better situation for him. The Jets just has not panned out. Quarterback has been a problem for them for years. Can't seem to get it right. But it would be, again, it would be comical if Zach Wilson somehow is on this team in 2024. He cannot be on this team. Can't. But they talk about him being an asset. Well, what kind of asset is he? I mean, maybe you get a seventh round pick for him. I mean, right now it doesn't seem like they're getting anything. Again, apologize for my dog barking in the background. She started barking as I was about to come back from break, and I was hoping it would stop, but it has not. I don't know. It's probably barking at the mailman or something. It's just, again, this is something that happens, with me sneezing or holding back a sneeze or her barking. It's like almost a guarantee. So if you want to bet on the show, that's a couple of things that you definitely can win some money from, is my dog barking or me trying to hold back a sneeze, which hasn't happened yet, but just wanted to mention that. But like I said, they talk about Zach Wilson being an asset. Not really an asset. No offense to him, but he's a deficit. Because he should not be anywhere near the football field for the Jets in 2024. He shouldn't. He did not play well. He had that one good game against the Texans last year, but other than that, it was a tough watch. Oh, well, also against the Chiefs too, which I was in attendance for, but they lost that game. Just was not good. And again, is it all of his fault? No. He was not coached the right way. If he ended up in a better situation, he'd be a different player. But he's with the Jets, and this is what they got. This is what they got. And it just has not worked out. So he needs to go somewhere else. But if they don't want to release him, well, it doesn't seem like teams are. I mean, there were some rumors that, teams could be, interested in trading him, but they're not going to give up a lot to get him. I think teams now might be just playing the waiting game and just hoping that they release him. But the Jets don't want to release him. So he might just be stuck there. And then we might be dealing with the same thing that we dealt with in 2023 in 2024, which I hope not, but it could be a possibility. But, I mean, maybe it's something that happens after the draft. I don't know, but yeah, it's just Zach Wilson needs to go somewhere else. But right now, that's not happening. The Jets want to trade him. I think they want to do right by him and at least trade him rather than just flat out release him and then nobody picks him up. But again, like I said, teams are not lining up to get him. So they could say he's an asset, but not really is an asset. So now the other thing I want to talk about is what are the Jets going to do in the draft? So Rick Cimini of ESPN, he's reporting that the Jets may have other targets in mind when it comes to the draft. It seems like they could go with, if they're available, one of the top receivers. At least one of the guys might be available, whether it's Marvin Harrison Jr., who's probably going to be taken before them. Malik Neighbors probably going to be taken before them. So it might be Rome Odunze that ends up with the Jets. Now, the other possibility, too, is they like Brock Bowers, so they could go after him. I know some of the conversations that I've had with coworkers, friends that are Jet fans, I know at least with one of the conversations I was having, they like Tyler Conklin and that they should stick with him. He be the top tight end. They don't get Brock Bowers because offensive line is more important. Because although I like what the Jets have done this offseason. You got Tyron Smith, who has an injury history, and he could definitely get hurt again. So you might want to draft an offensive lineman with your first pick just for depth, just in case one of these guys does go down and gets hurt. Because Aaron Rodgers is the present. And the Jets, on paper, the team is good. But it's only going to work if Aaron Rodgers is healthy. If he's not healthy, if he ends up getting hurt again, then this season, again, just like last year, is going to be a waste. So they really have to prioritize making sure that he stays upright and that he's healthy. We're seeing videos of him throwing to Garrett Wilson and to Breece Hall, and it's great to see. And I hope he goes out there and he lights it up. And he reminds people that he is still that guy. Like I said, I'm gonna go into 2024, be a part of the minority that Aaron Rodgers is gonna go out there and have a great season. Despite him coming off of this Achilles injury and being 40 years old, Aaron Rodgers is going to go out there and have a good season and remind everybody who he is. And if he doesn't, then I will be the first person to admit that. They got to make sure that they protect him. And again, they got 3 offensive linemen. They traded for one. They signed a couple. I mean, they could draft one with, their second or third pick, someone they really like. Maybe they trade up for some. It's just, there's a lot of possibilities. We're going to see a lot of trades in the draft. We're definitely going to see that because you got teams that are looking to trade up. You got teams that are open to trading down. There's going to be some trades on Thursday. You're going to see that. But when it comes to the Jets, I mean, the splashier move is getting a playmaker. Whether it's Brock Bowers, whether it is one of the top receivers. But what would probably be the smarter move? Probably drafting another offensive lineman. I mean, because if you look at the Jets' weapons right now, you got Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, you have Tyler Conklin, like I said. I mean, Alan Lazard is still there, right? You also have Xavier Gibson, who ran back that punt return week 1. Is Randall Cobb still with them, or is he's gone now? I don't even know. But even if he is, Randall Cobb's not the same player he once was. I feel like with Rodgers, Lazard will be somewhat better. But again, Mike Williams coming off of the ACL. And then of course, you got Breece Hall coming out of the backfield. So again, I think the Jets are fine. Could they use another weapon? Yeah. But I feel like for Aaron Rodgers' sake, you want to maybe you get another receiver in the second or third round. But with Aaron Rodgers, maybe offensive line is probably the better way to go. But we'll see. We'll see. Because, I mean, if you got, one of these linemen, these top linemen there, I mean, probably should take it. But, I mean, they did address the offensive line in free agency, so that might make them more inclined to say, you know what, we're going to add another playmaker. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens, but again, we'll find out on Thursday. We'll find out on Thursday. So, with that being said, we're going to take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, again, let me know what you guys think about the Zach Wilson stuff. What do you think the Jets will end up doing with him, as well as what do you think the Jets will do with their first pick? What would be the better thing for them to do? Take a playmaker or take a lineman? Because it's going to be one of those two things. Let me know in the comments. But when we come back, we'll talk about a couple things with the Chiefs, what they could do in the draft, but mainly the importance of Marquise Brown now. I mean, the move is even more important with the stuff going on with the Chiefs. So we'll get into that when we come back from our final break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.